Tyler, Mary, anyone else? Well, looks like they're quiet. Oh.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Oh, hi, I'm Mary Dillingville, and I am actually not in business yet. So I'm really just here to learn and absorb any information that I can, being that we're in quarantine and I get to work from home now, so I have time to, attend things like this. So it's my first time and I'm excited to hear how the conversation goes, see what I can learn from everyone here.
Awesome. And then Tyler, if you want to jump in.
You may be talking to your mute, Tyler.
Yeah. Well, we can just move on. If he jumps in, then we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Awesome. So I figured that we would start with just kind of some background about what you do, Bret, and then just kind of anything that you're currently facing, stuff that you're hearing, and then maybe we can kind of jump into more general stuff as well. It's up to you how you want to lead, but that might be a good starting point.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. So I run a software company here in San Antonio called Jungle Disk. We do cybersecurity for small businesses all over the world. And we serve folks as we're doing cloud computing primarily over the internet. We don't go out to many client sites. Here in San Antonio, we may go visit customers from time to time because all of our employees are here. But outside of that, almost all of our customers interact with us over the internet. In addition to that, I run a holding company where we have a couple of other new businesses that are starting up. And this first half of the year has certainly been challenging for that.
Awesome. So in terms of the clients that you're serving, have you seen anything specific that's really affected them? Or has there been anything that's affected you currently in terms of the quarantine? Or so
we at Jungle Disk, we're in the business of backup and business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning. A few weeks ago, we implemented our business continuity plan and had everyone go to the work from home setup. And this is one where we've tested this all along the way. So typically, each of our employees, it's not mandated where you get in trouble if you don't work from home at least one day a month, but we encourage everybody to work from home at least one day a month. Make sure everything is working. Make sure you've got your work environment at your home that's available, that in the event that something happens, you're going to be able to still be productive and be able to serve our customers. Then last week, we went to mandatory work from home, so it was no longer an option. And then the end of last week, we mandated, even if the city and county and state and federal government changed things, we're going to be work from home all the way through the whole month of April. So we were coordinating with folks to go down to the office one by one and pick up anything to go to what we would consider a long-term work from home solution. So if you've got your laptop, or you can work from home, or maybe if you've got a cell phone and you can forward a document to your personal computer, those stuff's not ideal, but for many small businesses, that was kind of the way work from home went on a normal basis. Now in this situation where your primary work location is going to be home, like picking up that monitor that's at your desk and bringing that to your residence so you can have not only your laptop screen, but the bigger monitor to be fully productive, is a big change for the way that most folks handle work from home. So we've executed that. And then on a lot of the other things going on, we had a business that we were going to launch in March. We're probably going to launch it in May now, I would guess, April, June. I'm not exactly sure, but that business is going to require folks to be on site and more personal contact than the Jungle Disc software business. So that one's just kind of all on pause for now.
So when you think about the issues that you have, or the issues that these are creating for other small businesses, and the products that you offer are targeted towards sort of the Main Street businesses, I guess where does cybersecurity fall in terms of the needs right now that you feel?
Yeah, well, I mean, so this is one where many small businesses are deciding, do I let my employees use their home computer? Because like I don't really have a laptop to give them. They were working from a desktop in our office, and I don't know that I want them to take the desktop home. But does that home computer have viruses on it? Do we have a VPN if we've got a server in the office? There's a lot of technology complexity that's getting exposed during this point in time. And we've done some emergency VPN setup and configuration, because if you've got a file server in your office, then it's not necessarily available from home. And maybe you had a couple of employees that had access to get into that server remotely, but not everyone. And now everyone in the company needs it in order to continue doing their job. So I think we'll get through this. And then there's going to be a lot of reevaluation across many businesses, because they're going to see some pain in the way that they have their technology set up that's going to impact them. Now, I mean, you get into, like, we serve primarily businesses that have confidential records that they need to protect for their customers. So we serve a lot of lawyers, doctors, financial advisors, CPAs, real estate. And if we're providing the storage for their key documents, allowing them to access it anywhere, those type of businesses, we're not seeing significant change in our business today. I know from talking with many friends in the restaurant and retail world, and even in the food manufacturing, if you're manufacturing and supplying food to restaurants and or catering companies, most of them at this point have executed a 75 to 90% layoff or furlough, however you want to word it. They expect that things will go back to normal and they'll hire people back. But for now, they've made massive cuts in their business. Many of them are trying to figure out for the first time, how do we do takeout? How do we do delivery? How do we do curbside pickup? And it's challenging to change your whole business model in the middle of a crisis situation. I know one of our neighborhood restaurants here, like, it's a pizza place, but they never have done takeout or delivery before. They've done to-go boxes, so that they took in too many orders one night, and they ended up with a 2 to 3 hour wait to get pizzas out, because they'd never just taken a bunch of orders over the phone before. And so just people are learning and stumbling over things like that as we're going through this, and it hasn't been game planned ahead of time.
Yeah, and folks, if you're on the phone or if you're on the call, you're more than welcome to jump in if you have questions, even if it doesn't relate to this particular line of questions. But so I'm curious in that, how much of that do you feel is really based on poor planning, or is there planning that you can do for scenarios like this?
I mean, if you're a large organization with a risk team, you could have done a bunch of planning for something like this. If you're a business that is just working on trying to figure out how to serve your customers, pay your employees, and get through to the next month, the next quarter, the next year, you couldn't plan for a global pandemic. Even so, take some of the large, like, global financial services and insurance companies. They'd never planned on having all of their office buildings globally shut down all at the same time. So even companies like that are struggling in this situation, because they can't forward paper checks or those sorts of things to another address. all of the scenario modeling, even at many of the larger organizations that think about risk, they didn't think about everything being shut down all at once. That was just kind of yeah, you people are crazy. That's off the table. That'll never happen. We'll look at a shutdown in North America. We'll look at a shutdown in Europe, but we won't look at a shutdown of everything all at once.
Okay. So in terms of, I guess, what do you think people should really be focusing on as we face issues and sort of the unknown of how long this will take? You think it's more beneficial to shut down operations for some people, or is it time to get creative? I mean, what would be your take?
I don't think there's one right answer for this. I think you've got to look at it from an individual business perspective. If keeping your doors open every day right now costs you more than you're bringing in, then you're running effectively a charity at that point, supporting your employees. So if there used to be enough customers and revenue coming through the door to pay everybody and then still pay yourself as the business owner, then you're running a business. And so I think this is one of those to decide, is that can you reallocate people and get innovative and creative? Can you shift to a delivery business in the restaurant side? Or I'm involved with Catholic Charities as a nonprofit, and some of our programs and the people working on those require you to be in the office. Like we have folks that help coordinate large volunteer efforts so people can come out and help us clean up a center or paint something, or go do a house cleanup or a clothes pantry sorting. We're obviously not running and organizing volunteer events like that right now. So could those folks organize virtual volunteering? Can they do fundraising campaigns online? What can they do differently? So as you go through and look at these activities, you've got good people that are working for you. How can you then go reallocate them into working on different activities so that they're still helping the organization? And if you're a business, get you to the point where they're paying for themselves. If not, I think you've got some real hard trade-offs to make. And frankly, for business owners, if you are losing money every day right now, it's probably best to shut your doors and let your employees go on unemployment. They've waived the waiting period and everything else, and save that last bit of money you have in your bank, because when this is all over, you're going to need a little bit of money to get started back up again. You're going to have to buy new inventory. You're going to have to hire some people. All the customers aren't going to come back immediately. So if you burn through every dollar of reserves you have right now as a business, trying to keep the doors open, when we do get to the point where it's time to start back up, you may not be the business that's going to be starting back up.
Okay. It's really good insight. Does anyone else have any questions at the moment? Okay. Just in terms of, so I think that's a really good set of points. I'm just curious, how long do you think, I know we've been talking a little bit about the data online, like how a lot of people are unsure of how serious this is, how long it should take. What are your thoughts on that as a business owner?
Well, I mean, I tell you, I mean, we're thinking through this stuff kind of weeks and months at a time right now at Jungle Disc. I think that my order to work from home for the whole month of April is probably pretty realistic at a minimum. I don't believe they haven't announced it officially yet for many of the schools, but I don't believe that kids are going to be back in classrooms this year unless we see a substantial turnaround of events over the course of the next couple of weeks. They've canceled STAR testing at the public school level already. So I think that realistically, working at some level of work from home through the end of the month of May feels about like the average outcome at this point. There's just so many unknowns at the moment on this virus outbreak. It's a new virus, so there's health officials that are using models based off of things that are similar to it, but similar doesn't always mean exactly the same. They're doing the best with the information they have right now. But I don't think anybody can definitively tell you if we do these three things, then everything will go back to normal on exactly this date.
Okay. So one of the questions that I've heard from the folks that we've worked with is really like, how should they manage to support their employees, or is there a way to support your employees if you are unable to create the revenue to pay them? What's the best scenario there?
So, I mean, I think there's all sorts of different things businesses can offer their employees. I mean, one right now in the restaurant industry, everyone's had to lay off everybody, but wholesale toilet paper supply chain is different than retail toilet paper supply chain. So most of the folks I know in the restaurant industry don't have any problem getting more toilet paper right now. And their employees that they had to lay off in a lot of cases might need some toilet paper. I think that there's easy stuff like that you can do. It's like, hey, come on by, pick up plenty of toilet paper for you and your family. And so even if you can't afford to just buy it and give it to them, you can still buy it and they can afford to pay for it with the money they're getting from unemployment. Toilet paper is not that expensive. Just depends on where the restaurant is at. Same thing on the food piece right now. If you can buy food at a wholesale price and be able to give that out to some of your employees, that's great. Or if you can even just let them then buy it from you at a wholesale price, so that you're helping them live more efficiently in a time of scarcity until we get through this. So I just think be thoughtful, think about what things could be helpful, and then if you can do something there, then go ahead and do that and make it available.
Okay. And so there are a lot of questions out there, or rather a lot of suggestions out there about decreasing the amount of people that you have on staff or on site at the moment, and really only pursuing those that are business critical. And I feel like it's a kind of a hard question to figure out who is critical to your business. Do you have any suggestions relating to, sort of understanding that part?
Yeah, I mean, so this is one where I encourage businesses to go through and think about this ahead of time. But I mean, restaurants never really planned for having to shift from a dine-in to a takeout or delivery only. And I mean, many of them didn't even have the correct insurance in place in order to be able to have delivery drivers. There's lots of complexities and complications coming on. So I think the way I think about critical in this situation, it's not necessarily critical on an ongoing normal operating basis. It's if I was starting up a brand new business, say I had a restaurant that I ran before, that I had a dining room and I had people came in and sat down and did all of that. The employees that are critical to the success of that are substantially different than the employees that are critical for me to reach customers via social media and run a delivery business that is going to run over the internet. So I think you have to look at just like blank slate, start over and go, if I was starting this business up today that I was going to advertise on social media and deliver a product over the internet, who would be the people I would hire in order to do that? And do any of those people work for me already? If they do, then those are the new critical people. If they don't work for you, you might actually have to lay off all of your existing employees and then try to hire and find some new ones.
That's a good point. And, for those that really don't have the opportunity to sell food, like if you're a bar, for example, or an event venue or a service professional providing some service like massage therapy, for example.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about what opportunities they might have or what ways to sort of get creative there?
Yeah, I mean, I think
I know I'm putting you on the spot for that.
No, it's all good. I mean, I've talked to a lot of folks that are in those situations over the last couple of weeks, and can you sell gift cards now? So maybe normally it's $100 for a massage. You're going to sell that $100 massage for $80 at the moment, and it's a little bit of pain because you're eventually going to have to fulfill on that gift card, and you're not going to get the same amount of revenue in as you would before. But if you can use that to run and stay along and keep things going here, then that's better than the alternative. Similarly, on the event venues, could you try to book out into the following years? Could you look at getting in contact with the public health officials if they're going to need temporary space? Is your space something that could be useful for warehousing medical supplies or anything in this where there's an alternative use of that space in order for you to bring some revenue in right now? It may just mean that you're not going to bring any revenue in and you need to start immediately filling out the SBA paperwork for the assistance of up to $2 million. The terms on that, it's a 30-year loan. It's not free money. They're talking about maybe making it some forgiveness on it as well. But 30-year loan, super low interest, super low credit score requirements. So can you go finance and borrow some money there to get you through this drop in revenue until the point where the business comes back and you can start booking things again at event venues? I mean, I'm seeing all over Facebook and other places people are canceling and postponing weddings. Obviously, you're not going to have a wedding right now. But as soon as this is all over, if your event venue wasn't 100% busy before, it's probably going to be 100% busy now because people are still going to want to do all of those celebration and life events that they had to put on pause during this crisis.
Yeah, that's I really like those thoughts specifically. I mean, they really resonate with some of the plight that folks are facing right now. As there's so many different industries, it's really hard to figure out what's the best scenario for each person.
Yeah, so, I know one, Amelia mentioned it online here with us that she's a notary. So Texas now supports digital notary. So you can go through some continuing training and get licensed, not as just a notary where you've got your stamp book and the signature and stuff, but you can actually do these digitally online. So as people are working through these scenarios and going, man, I wish I had a medical power of attorney in place. I hadn't thought about that yet, or I hadn't thought about all these, a will or other stuff. But I can't get one now because I've got to go physically sit in a room with a notary and everything. You potentially can be doing some of that notary business digitally online right now.
Okay, it looks like there's a question in the chat.
Looking at it now. Yeah, how can businesses prepare for these type of scenarios? Yeah, how can you as an entrepreneur prevent shutting down during crisis situations? So, I mean, I think this is one where you can model out different scenarios and just do a what if, and it doesn't have to get super complicated. From a business continuity planning perspective, one of the ones that I ask a lot of small business owners to do is go out to lunch with your management team and run through the scenario of what would it look like, what would happen in your department if your employees weren't able to come into the office for a day, if they weren't able to come into the office for a week, if they weren't able to come into the office for a month. And usually most folks will go, well, if my folks were out for a day, it's fine. If they're out for a week, if it was the end of the month or something, we may miss some things. Or if we're out for a whole week, they won't be able to place an order that we're going to need. We'll have an inventory shortage the next week. If folks are out for a whole month, usually people start to panic at that point. And that's where you can start to write down and figure out the big things that you should look to address in your business from a planning perspective. And then you can have maybe other topics of this to cover in that just same kind of sitting around having a team lunch. This doesn't have to be formal, and you can just write down some notes. It is areas where if a critical inventory item you weren't able to get. So restaurants are really easy to talk about. So if you're a steakhouse and we had a breakout of mad cow disease and now there's no more beef, if we didn't have beef as a steakhouse for a day, we'll get over it. If we don't have it for a week, that's going to start to hurt. If there was no beef that you could order for a month and you're a steakhouse, do you have a backup menu where you could go to serving fish or doing some other things creative to try to continue to get customers in the door. So looking at the lack of being able to access your workplace, look at the key supply or item out of your supply chain. What happens if there was a shortage or it was unavailable? And then the last one is what do you do if you lost business records? So I use CPAs on this one all the time. So if you're in the middle of tax season like you are right now, and if your CPA and all of your email got deleted, is that catastrophic? Do you have a backup of it? Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad does that ruin your week? If all of the files on your computer got deleted, scale of 1 to 10, how bad is that? Is there a backup copy of it? How do you go access the information? So you can look at some of those kind of risk scenarios, and really, if you talk through this stuff over lunch with a small leadership team, you can get through a bunch of these scenarios in an hour.
And one of the other things that I think is a dovetail on that, a lot of folks may have not been in the best business situation prior to all of this happening, and there's some serious conversation about the likelihood that maybe this is the closing throes for you as a business, right? But one of the things that one of our other mentors, Jody Newman, says is, it's time to ask the tough questions. So what do you think those tough questions really are, not only for businesses now, but prior to this whole scenario? What should we have been asking ourselves?
Well, so I mean, as a business owner, I think that there's a few things I think about. So I want to be able to create a job for myself that allows me to earn the money that I could make working for somebody else. If you're having to pay yourself less to work for your own business than you could get hired by someone else, your business is financially struggling at that point. You're not running a healthy business. And I know there's a lot of the startup business owners are like, well, I'm going to do the startup thing and I'm going to eat ramen and bologna for 5 years, and then there's all going to be this big payoff in the end. If you're sacrificing the amount of money that you can make over the somebody else giving you a job, realize that your business is already struggling at that point. And then from a hiring and paying employees. So the other thing I think about with the business is, am I able to pay the people that are working for me well, so that they can have a quality job and take care of their family? And this varies per industry. So you have to look at, like, what does pay in cybersecurity technology look like versus what does pay in the food and beverage look like versus what does pay in accounting look like versus whatever other industry. If you can't afford to pay as much as your competitor down the street does in your own industry, then your business is struggling there again as well. And you got to dig in and figure out, what are they doing differently that's allowing them to provide for their employees at a higher level than I can. And then third and lastly is, as a business owner, I want to be able to have run a company that's going to have an impact on the community. So can you provide your employees time to volunteer? Are you able to have enough resources inside the business to sponsor a community activity or run an internship program or do things that will help benefit the community that you operate in? And if you're not able to do that, you're still financially struggling a little bit. But if you're paying yourself well and you're paying your employees well, pretty healthy business. But if you get up to the point where now you can not only do all those things, but you can allow your employees to take time to go volunteer, you can afford to give some money to activities in the area, then you've got a little bit of a buffer as well. So if sales go down 10 or 20%, you can still pay yourself well. You can still pay your employees well, but maybe you can't. You have to tell everybody, sorry, our volunteer program is cut off for right now. I actually need everybody in the office working every hour. I can't afford to pay you to go volunteer anymore. And I think people will understand that, especially if it's a big situation where they know and you're transparent with them that, like, sales are off 20% and we burn through our buffer. So I think there's various levels of health inside of a business, and Ideally, you strive to get to where you're at that top level. But if you were already operating before this crisis at a point where you either weren't able to pay yourself fully or your full worth, or you weren't able to pay your employees the same as your competitors down the street do, and you've been doing that for years and it's not getting any better, it may have been time to shut down long before this crisis. And this crisis might just be the cathartic stay-at-home event that allows you to get through the grieving of having to give up on your dream for now and figure out what the next one is.
There's another question in the chat.
Yeah. So, what would be a good strategic plan the next 90 days to get back on track and operating a very lean business? So, on this one, I think coming out of this, we're going to see all sorts of business opportunities. There will be people that will be making more money than they ever did before. And so I think it's identifying those opportunities. And then in business, when I think about lean business, the way I think about it is a business that creates a working capital surplus. So can you get your customers to pay you before you have to pay your vendors and suppliers? And that's a super lean business. Or it's just a business where it's all labor. Like if you're coming in, you're getting paid for doing work, and you're running a moving company. Like that's a pretty lean business. You might have to lease a truck, but you can start a moving business off by going down and renting a truck from U-Haul or Ryder for the day. You don't even have to own it. You just rent it and drive it around town for the day, and you've got your moving company up and going. So I think looking at those different opportunities and seeing where there's demand out there. I mean, right now, frankly, if you had a toilet paper manufacturing facility anywhere in the world, I'm sure those things are running as fast as they can run. And I don't know that this crisis is going to go on long enough that it makes sense to try to start a new toilet paper manufacturing business. But there's going to be opportunities on the upside of this after it's all over. And it's just grabbing and jumping on those as quick as you can. Now, if some lean business, if it takes you a little bit of money to get started up, during all this stuff, if you have a reasonable credit score, but maybe you don't even have a credit card because you're like, I'm never going to need a credit card, might be a reasonable time to go out. And I'm not suggesting you go get a credit card and max the thing out buying a whole bunch of toilet paper at the moment and maybe then trying to mark it up and sell it. But if you can get a little bit of credit and get a little bit of access to capital saved up, then you'll be able to jump on that lean business opportunity coming out of the other side of this.
And Bret, how do you make the decisions? Let's say that if you're not building something lean right now, how do you get lean from where you are right now? I think a lot of people are also questioning what things to cut. I mean, there's people always say you cut marketing first, or you cut personnel or something like that. How do you really decipher what you should be cutting?
Yeah. So, I mean, on cuts to go from where you are to lean, I think that varies in each different business as well. And so, one example is just an easy one. Like, this is something a lot of big companies do, and I actually think it's a detrimental cut. So they'll stop buying coffee for the office. So they'll say, you know what, like, look, we're a big global company. We spend $2 million a year on coffee. We're not going to spend $2 million a year on coffee. All that does is make their employees have to go buy coffee out of their own pocket, and they're not going to be able to buy it at the same wholesale level that the business can. So did the business save $2 million, and did maybe they weren't able to they didn't have to lay people off? Sure, but you made the average life of all of your employees worse. I think there's no one right answer on there. Now, marketing in a time like this, if I was running a digital marketing campaign and I had a restaurant right now, I mean, man, I would have gone in and hit pause and shut that stuff off because like I can't bring people into my restaurant at the moment. Now, if you were able to pivot that marketing campaign into online delivery and those sorts of things, maybe you can capitalize on this and build a whole brand new revenue stream that you never knew you were going to have. But the other one to do, and this is just on an annual basis about getting lean. Look at your top 3 vendors that you spend money with, and evaluate alternatives. And it doesn't mean change vendors or suppliers, but make sure that they're still giving you fair prices because the prices change in the market. Talk with your peers and your competitors because I mean, while they are competing with you, they're also probably buying from similar suppliers. And if you're a restaurant on and restaurants just easy businesses to talk about because everyone understands roughly how they work. But if you're a restaurant down off of Southwest Military in San Antonio, find somebody who runs a restaurant up by the Forum in San Antonio and talk with them about who they're buying stuff from and whatnot, because the customers that go into that restaurant at 35 and 1604 probably are not the same customers that are going into a restaurant down at Southwest Military in 281. So find peers to have conversations with and just make sure that you're brainstorming and thinking about things in businesses like yours in a way to be lean.
I want to open it back up to anyone else that has questions. If y'all want to jump in or if you have comments or anything else, feel free. I feel like I've been asking a lot of stuff. Or Bret, if you have anything else to add that we haven't talked about specifically.
Man, the easiest advice to give and the hardest advice to follow is in times like this, don't panic. Like we've got a solid system in our country. Things are going to turn around and come back, and things could get bad. But I mean, you can look at many business owners out there that are super successful today, and I mean, frankly, many of them throughout times in their life had businesses fail and had to file bankruptcy. So even going all the way down to filing bankruptcy and having to hit the reset button and starting over from zero doesn't mean that things are over. It doesn't mean that you're a failure. And this is really easy advice to give right now, and it's really hard advice to listen to and process, especially when you're going through it. So Daniela asked if we've got businesses that are getting more demand than usual, how can you sustainably supply that demand? Yeah, I mean, I think this is a real tricky one as well. So say you were in the medical mask, those N95 masks that everyone's talking about. If you were in the business of manufacturing those and you used to sell 1,000 of them a week, and now you're selling 5,000 of them a week, and you've hired a bunch of new employees to let you run 3 shifts in your manufacturing and everything else and package them up more quickly. In that sort of case, you're probably not going to be able to sustainably keep that demand. Eventually, this crisis is going to end, and everyone's going to stop buying those masks, and then you're going to have to lay folks off at the end of this. Now, this may be one where you can, in other areas, if you can, in that restaurant one I'll use again as an example, if you never did delivery and takeout before, and now you've built a website that allows you to take online orders and takeout orders and all those sorts of things, that may be new demand. And once you can open your dining room back up, your business may be doing better than ever. So think about the things that you are doing right now, and you can identify, is this just a short-term thing I can capitalize on, or is this going to be a long-term benefit? For most of the bar owners out there, I would say the liquor delivery that the state's allowing right now, as much as we may all love that liquor delivery to continue, I don't know that it will coming out of this. So that one may not be sustainable. Another question, independent contractor barbers. City hasn't shut barbers down yet. Clients are canceling. So in that type of situation, I think this is one where proactively communicating to your customers is super important. So if you can go through and say, hey, like we're only using every other barber stool in the barber shop right now, and we've got disinfectant wipes, and we are wiping down the whole workstation in between each haircut. We are wiping down the we've got wipes that are set outside the front door, so you can grab a wipe to actually open our door. You do things to let them know that you're being proactive and thoughtful. And then instead of because you can only have half the folks operating now, you're taking turns on shifts. Maybe you're running extended hours. I know I was talking with a stylist. They're moving to that kind of model right now, and they're moving and they're open on Sundays now for the first time because all the stylists in the shop are coordinating with each other so they can have that spacing that's needed. And the clients, they're calling a lot of their regulars and saying, hey, would you be okay to come in at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday for a cut and style? And frankly, a lot of the clients, what they're finding are, yes, I would love to get out of my house for something. And I really appreciate that you've done all the things to make it safe for me to go out and do that. So over communicate to your clients about what you're doing and how you're going to be able to continue serving them and earning their business.
Awesome. Cool. Any other questions that folks have, or?
Danielle, can you elaborate on how to support your employees? What are you asking there? Yeah. So Danielle asking, yeah, cutting hours back, adapting to training. So I mean, I think this is one that businesses have to think through. Is like you look at the folks that are working for you. Is there an opportunity if maybe you had someone who has a certain set of skills, and you said, you know what, we were going to schedule 2 weeks for you to do some training to learn new skills this year, and the business has the budget to do that. Make those 2 weeks right now and just take them out of rotation because they might not be able to serve customers, and have them do that training right now. So I think there's creative ways on this, but I'm not a fan of across the board pay cuts. So it's cutting hours back is one thing. I think I've seen some businesses that have thought about, you know what, like the business is off. I don't want to lay anybody off in these challenging times. I would prefer to just cut everybody's pay by 20%. Well, if you've got a lot of folks that are already spending every dollar of that paycheck, if you cut their pay by 20%, it's almost worse than laying them off because they can't pay their bills. They can't go get unemployment. They can't apply for any of the disaster relief that's going to be out there because they still have a job. So I think being some thoughtful about that, you may be better off cutting 20% of your employees and then keeping the other 80% at 100% of their pay. So I got another question. Tyler asking, how can we market our services like takeout to the city and the offices that are still open? I think that's a tricky one right now because marketing is basically limited to digital and online and phone. You can't go out and knock on doors at the moment. I mean, folks may be getting their mail, but they may not be even picking up mail right now and paying any attention to it. So if you don't have an online persona and an online brand, it's also pretty tricky to start one up in the middle of this. The restaurants and those type of businesses that I've seen make this successful pivot to takeout and delivery have an online presence and have been able to engage with that online audience. There's frankly, I mean, the sad part is that there's just not a lot of folks in the office. If you're a restaurant in the downtown area, the takeout and delivery is pretty much gone for lunch now because there's hardly anyone down there working.
See, any other questions or thoughts or comments?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. It looks like if you want to unmute yourself, you're more than welcome to do that too if you do have anything rather than typing it. But if not, could probably call it. Trying to see. I'm not sure if. Oh.
So the biggest takeaway, well, we can wrap up with that one in closing. I mean, I think as when we saw this with the hurricane and the gas panic as well, that you will have folks overreact in times of stress because they try to do something that is within their control, and I think so. You have to plan for behavior being in a time of crisis. Behavior is going to be abnormal, and so as you're going through doing some of those thoughtful planning exercises before the next time something happens, realize that as you think through that, you have to think that the general population is not going to behave in a way that looks normal. They're going to behave in a way that is normal for a crisis because they're trying to do something that is within their control to feel productive. So, yeah, we will get through all of this, and there will be opportunity on the other side of this coming out of it. Sadly, that opportunity coming out of it's going to be at the expense of somebody else who's going to be closing their doors during this and not opening back up.
Well, yeah, I know it's a tough situation to be in at the moment, but I really appreciate you hopping on the line, Bret, and providing us your insight and just being a part of this platform and supporting the business community around us. So we'll be doing this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time, 10:30 to 11:30. And this Wednesday we have Jody Newman, who's going to be talking. She's the owner of the Friendly Spot. So if you're interested, just feel free to make sure to let us know, and we'll make sure you get the registration to jump on the call again. So yeah, well, if nothing else, then we really appreciate it, Bret. Again, the insights were really great. And if you're okay with it, we'll probably send this or post this out as a video that other people can access as well.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.